This week on the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show, Michigan crushes Minnesota like a boa constrictor. Ohio State stops Maryland from exploding on the field, and despite losing Cade McNamara for the season, Iowa does what Iowa does and defeats Purdue. Mac, am I missing anything?
Bowl games. It's time to start talking bowl games.
Bowl games.
Bowl games. First up, we've got Penn State, Illinois. We're going to go through each of the games. Well, we got 3 games. First up, Penn State, Illinois. We got 5 minutes for each game.
Looking for some bigger prey. They're hungry for that bigger win, and this could be it. If they can take down Penn State. I said, nevertheless. Why did I say I said?
The former 3rd string, now 2nd string quarterback. And people on Twitter are talking. Should he be the starter now?
Welcome to the Big Ten Team Rivalry Show. I am your host, Clifford the Dog Richardson. That's data analyst with grit for the uninitiated. With me, as always, is the angry pigskin himself, commentator extraordinaire, my oldest son, Mackenzie. How's it going, Mac?
I'm your only son, Dad.
Yeah, so it works.
Okay. Well, it's going good. I just have one thing to say. AP voters, you are cowards for not putting Michigan at 1. Put them at 1.
Hey, let's just be happy they finally, after all these years, finally gave Ohio State some respect.
Oh, yeah, finally.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Thank you to all of our subscribers, and thank you to everyone watching. We are father and son team in a never-ending pursuit to make football fun again, with oddball statistics and an enthusiasm for personal bias and some friendly rivalry on the side between the two of us. If you enjoy watching football with your family, this is the channel for you.
You know what separates the winners from the losers, kid? The score.
First, let's talk about Michigan at Minnesota. The Wolverine game plan seems to have been slow and methodical so far, but I thought they threw that out against Minnesota. But okay, so listen to what PJ Fleck said in the post-game interview. This is a quote. Let me read you this. Quote, "I think they're the best football team I've seen in 11 years being a head coach. I've never seen a football team that deep. They're one of the deepest teams, one of the best teams, one of the biggest teams, fastest teams, strongest teams, and they do not make mistakes. They truly are like a boa constrictor." So a boa constrictor slowly surrounds its prey and then gradually squeezes the life out of it. What do you think? Is he right about that?
I mean, normally, yeah, but that wasn't really the case on Saturday, you know? I mean, normally Michigan gets off to these slow starts and then they take off in the 3rd quarter. I mean, against Minnesota though, so they got that pick 6 like 2 plays in. So they were leading 7-0 literally like 4 or 5 seconds into the game. So basically they never stopped from there. I think it's possible, like what you were saying earlier this season, that Fleck might have peaked at Minnesota actually. So he's had he's had good players before and they've done really well for the most part, but he has yet to make it to the Big Ten championship, despite being in what could possibly be the worst division in Power 5 college football. So, I mean, he's got to do a little bit of self-reflection, doesn't he? Like, I don't understand why they can't consistently get results, at least what they want with the players that they've had, or be able to consistently get the players that they want. So, yeah, I mean, it was an absolute bloodbath. And the only hope Minnesota ever had was this really awesome touchdown pass from Kelly McManus and that great catch from Daniel Jackson, which made absolutely zero sense how that worked, but it worked. And, great job. There was a little bit of blown coverage from Keon Sabb, but he made that up with the pick 6 later in the game. So maybe that was the plan all along, was Keon Sabb was like, you know what? I'm going to let them get this score because I'm going to get it right back like later in the 3rd quarter. So it's all good, whatever. But I don't know. Michigan's just on a totally different level right now. And Minnesota has totally dropped off from where they were last year. I mean, even last year was disappointing, but they still had a good team. This year, it seems like they've just lost everybody. Like they don't have nearly the talent level on that team this year than they did, or as they did last year.
Well, and I feel like they started out the same way last year too. They started out this year. Well, I guess they had 2 wins right off the bat and then 2 losses right off the bat. So I think they actually did better last year. So I think you're right about that, because last year they looked like they were going to win the West early on, and then they didn't.
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
yeah, Michigan, I think, and we were talking about this, that Michigan just looks like they're, like you said, they're playing on a whole different level now. Maybe even elite level, but I don't know if they can claim elite status until they hit those last 3 games when they go. What it's Penn State, Maryland, Ohio State, and I'm still going to put
Yeah.
Maryland as one of the tougher teams on their schedule because I don't think Maryland's going to let up. I don't think Loxley's going to let last weekend determine their fate.
No, I mean, I think Maryland, I think that they'll probably fall off the later the season gets. I do think that's probably going to be the case. I still think that they're tough. I mean, they're a
Mhm.
tough team, and they can be very good, as Ohio State found out. But I don't know. I think that actually what's going to happen is Michigan's probably just going to roll through the rest of their schedule, and then the playoff is going to be really interesting. But I just don't see a team on Michigan's schedule at this point that can compete with what they're doing. Penn State, maybe, but even then, I'm kind of like looking at first half Penn State against Northwestern and thinking, no, I mean, if they want to compete with Michigan, they're going to have to be the ones to get off to the fast start. And Michigan doesn't care whether or not they get off to a fast or slow start. They're just going to play their game, and like a boa constrictor, they're going to kill you.
Yep.
So it doesn't really matter to them. You need to play consistently, and Penn State doesn't do that. So I honestly don't know that. I think Michigan goes undefeated at this point. Just from what I saw against Minnesota, I think Michigan goes undefeated.
I think they absolutely can. I think, and what we saw today, James Franklin complaining about. It sounds like he's complaining about Michigan's schedule.
Yeah.
Um, Maryland is doing very well, but I don't think Michigan will have that much of a problem with them. It might be a tighter game, but I still think they'll win. And then Ohio State, even Joel Klatt now is concerned about Ohio State and their future.
Yeah. Which is wild.
Yeah.
It's
Speaking of Maryland and Ohio State, Maryland was at number 4 Ohio State on Saturday, and I think we were both hoping for the upset. I know I was hoping for the upset,
obvious.
but what?
Obviously.
Obviously. But you correctly called Ohio State to win. I called Maryland to win. Just decided to go for it there. Maryland still had a chance, I think, but it seems like that interception Tagovailoa threw, what was it, about 6 minutes left in the third, was the game-changing play for Maryland that they couldn't recover from. From that play, Ohio State put up 20 more unanswered points, shutting out Maryland in the fourth completely. Both teams were undefeated coming into this game. Maryland was 5-0 for the first time since 2001, which is why I thought this time they could take Ohio State down, given Ohio State looks anemic for Ohio State.
Mm-hmm.
What did Maryland do wrong, and what did Ohio State do right?
So Maryland, they can't compete right now in all 4 quarters. They came out fast. They actually even came out fast in the second half. Like they had that.
Yeah,
they had a touchdown on their first drive of the second half, and it looked really good. It looked like maybe they were going to keep on and stuff like that. And defensively speaking, they were really holding Ohio State too. But how many drives can your offense not score points that your defense is going to then come on the field and perform just as well? So like
right.
defensively, if you're performing that well, you want to see some production from your offense. They weren't getting that later into the second half, and that's why Ohio State was able to start really pouring it on. There's also the fact that Maryland turned the ball over twice, and both times it led to Ohio State points. One of which was a pick six. That's a dagger. It doesn't matter how it occurs. It's when it occurs. That's a dagger. That's going to hurt. The other one was, it was just a field goal, but after that point, it looked like Maryland's offense, their spirit was just kind of broken at that point, and there really wasn't anything that they could do. But I mean, if you're looking at like the first 3 quarters, this was a game. I mean, it was 20 to, 17 going into the fourth quarter. So this was a game.
Right.
And Ohio State absolutely should be concerned about that, because they gave up 3 sacks. And at points where it mattered too. So this was one thing that I wanted to call out too, was okay, so first off, Ohio State was 3 for 12 on third down efficiency. Not very good. They had 62 yards rushing total, with 1.9 yards per attempt. So they had zero running game. Absolutely
Right.
nothing.
Their running game was dead.
Nothing happened. And it wasn't until they realized that they need to sling the ball around. They let Kyle McCord start throwing the ball around a little bit, and he got the ball to Marvin Harrison Jr. a whole bunch, and he does what he does best, which is get a lot of yards and then occasionally score touchdowns. So they were able to pull away because of that. But while Maryland was playing well, they were in some serious trouble. Also, Ohio State is just not disciplined. They had 10 penalties for 81 yards. 81 yards. It's just crazy. So, yeah, I guess that's my takeaway, is that Ohio State, they had absolutely no run game, and then early on in the game, passing was a little bit difficult too because Maryland was getting pressure. So Ohio State's offensive line remains the biggest concern, and if they don't get that figured out, there are teams down the stretch that will absolutely, Michigan, Penn State, they will absolutely make you pay for a lack of O-line, especially with a rookie quarterback too. I guess he's not really a rookie, but you get it. First time starter.
Yeah.
First year starter.
Well, and I keep hearing too that I've heard other pundits say that they're leaning on Marvin Harrison Jr. Sounds to me in the same way that Michigan State was leaning on, was it Kenneth Walker?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was the running back last year, right?
Yeah.
At Michigan State?
2021.
21. Okay.
Yeah.
So they leaned on him heavily. I know you've said several times that Kenneth Walker's the one who won their games for him. Sounds like they're doing the same thing with Marvin Harrison Jr. Kyle McCord. Kyle. It is Kyle, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Kyle McCord. I don't know. I'm still trying to figure out if he's a good quarterback or not. I mean, it seems like he doesn't seem like a standout like Ohio State usually has, although I guess his QBR is 86.6. He's got 8 touchdowns, 1 interception, 1,375 yards. So I guess he's a good quarterback.
Mm-hmm.
I guess you'd have to compare him to like JJ McCarthy or something. I have to switch over the screen to do that. But I don't know. I really thought, I mean, going into that second half, I really figured Maryland had a shot. They could have done this. They could have put a massive dent in Ohio State, but something just ended after that interception.
Yeah.
And I don't want to say they gave up, but they definitely lost their spirit.
I don't think that they gave up. I think that they're just way too inconsistent on offense. Talia Tagovailoa is an extremely talented quarterback. He's extremely talented. They are not developing him the way that they need to. He is not seeing coverages the way that he needs to, because he turns the ball over basically multiple times a game. So at that point, he's like the quarterback that you're living or dying by. Either he is just trashing defenses and shredding secondaries like it's nothing, or secondaries are picking off everything that he's throwing because he's throwing it right to them. I mean, that pick six was, I can't remember exactly. I think that was a really bad throw, and he really shouldn't have made it. But that's the problem with Maryland's offense, is that he's just so very inconsistent. And frankly, as a whole unit, they're very inconsistent, and they need to clean that up because, going into the fourth quarter, they had opportunities to win the game. They absolutely did. And they lost it more than Ohio State won it.
What's your prediction for the fight then?
Pain.
Okay, Mac, let's take a look at our picks. Walk us through last week. What happened?
All right, last week, basically, it was a disaster on all fronts. We really didn't do very well at all.
It did seem like a bad week.
I just, Nebraska and Illinois are both dead to me. That was both of our worst calls, whatever. So that's that. Rutgers and Wisconsin, I mean, I called 28-24. You called 21-17. We both had Wisconsin winning. I don't know, I don't know if this game is a referendum on Wisconsin's offense proving us right or their defense being worse than we thought. So is I don't think that their offense is very good, but I also don't think their defense is very good anymore either. So I really don't know what to make of this game, and that's whatever that is. That's fine. Ohio State and Maryland, we both had this like way off. Well,
Yep.
I guess I was way off on Maryland, but that's fine. Whatever.
I was way off overall. I really messed that one up.
You called the upset, and that didn't pan out very well for you, and then this point spread didn't work out very well either. But that's that. Northwestern is a team that can go into the half against Penn State within a score, I think tied actually even, and then follow that up with a 3-point victory over Howard. And is Howard even FBS?
Yes.
Oh, there you go.
Pretty sure it is.
Well, Northwestern scored a lot fewer points than I thought they would, which is why that's my surprise pick, because I didn't see that coming, I guess. Not that it matters, because they're not going to go anywhere this season, so that's fine. But in any case,
I'm sorry. Howard is actually FCS. I thought they were FBS. I must be thinking of Temple.
Oh, okay. Yeah, well, there you go. Iowa and Purdue, 20-14 Iowa. I had it 24-21. You had it 24-21 Purdue. So we came at it from different angles, but we were both 11 points off.
Yeah.
And then Michigan, I mean, whew, man, they just couldn't stop scoring.
Yeah.
And that's fine with me. I called Michigan to win. I had the exact right Minnesota score, so I'm happy. And you were pretty close too, but not as close as me. So
No. Well, it did not expect them to run the score that high, but yeah, they couldn't stop running it in. That game was what they took. This is the one where they took 75 players and 74 of them played.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. The only one that didn't was the long snapper.
The backup long snapper. And they put him on camera. How mean is that?
Look, you're not playing.
Anyway, those were our picks from last week. Oh, so I guess I should say, like, I won the week 62-73. I had the better accuracy rating, just barely. And then I got, I think, more of my teams that I picked to win won. So that's why I got that bonus there. So
I think so, yeah. Next week, we will have the overall scoreboard ready to go, and we'll see where we are overall, because that's what
winning.
Overall scoreboards are for.
I'm winning.
All right. Fine, you're winning.
Cut.
A good reporter doesn't get great stories, Jimmy.
A good reporter makes them great.
We are midseason now, except for MSU and Indiana, who have only played 5 games. For everybody else, they've played 6. We thought this would be a good time to review each team's bowl status against the preseason prediction. Mac, I have a chart showing bowl predictions from 247 Sports, Sporting News, and Athlon, which is the magazine we go by at the beginning of the season. Although some people have said that Athlon is not that good, so I might have to get a different one next time, or
Liars.
More than one. I don't know if there's a better one. These are the ones that I could find.
These are the ones on sale at Meyer.
Right. We'll come back to this chart as we go. Right off the top, Michigan, Ohio State, and Penn State are going to a bowl game. I don't think there's any disputing that or reason to talk about that. We'll talk about what bowl game in a future show. But at any rate, at this time, the next level then is Maryland and Iowa. They only need one more game, which is probably not going to be a problem for either of them. So let's talk about the teams with 4 or less wins. That would put us at Rutgers and Wisconsin are the teams with 4 or less 4 wins. Rutgers and Wisconsin have 4 wins apiece. 4 is the key number here. You can see, okay, you can't see it.
I can't.
But I can see it. That nobody expected Rutgers to go to a bowl game, but here they are sitting at 4 wins. Wisconsin was projected to go to the Citrus Bowl by everybody. I don't know why everybody thinks they're going to the Citrus Bowl, but that's what it is. What do you see happening as far as, can Rutgers get to a bowl game? Can Wisconsin get to a bowl game? Well, and will it be the Citrus Bowl?
Isn't the Citrus Bowl a New Year's 6 game?
No. I
Oh,
don't think so. Not this year.
huh. Well, that must mean that it never is, because I don't know. I, that's
They've changed it.
yeah.
Okay, the New Year's 6 games are the Cotton Bowl, the Fiesta Bowl, the Orange Bowl, the Peach Bowl, the Rose Bowl, and the Sugar Bowl.
Peach Bowl. That's the one I keep thinking is
The
that
Citrus Bowl?
one. The Citrus Bowl. Yeah, the Citrus Bowl is totally
I
different.
don't
It
I don't think a
sounds
peach is citrus though. The orange is citrus, but not peach.
well. That's correct. A peach is actually a stone fruit,
There we go.
which is really interesting. Um,
Yeah.
they can grow in Michigan because of that. Cool.
That's good. But we're talking
Yeah.
about football.
Yes. So talking about football here. Yeah, I mean
Rutgers was not expected to go to a bowl game, and here they are at 4
Yeah.
wins.
Yeah, they're at 4 wins. Yeah, they're gonna get 2 more wins. I don't know. I think that I think if they do get their 2 more wins, which I think that they will, it's gonna be obviously Michigan State, Indiana, and Iowa are their best shots at it, I think.
Right.
Maryland, they might have a shot at, with it being the last game of the season and Maryland being just so all over the place. But I think Maryland's a better team when they're good. So, But I think
They've also got Illinois, though.
Rutgers does not play Illinois.
Oh, no, I'm sorry. I'm looking at the wrong side. Never mind.
Oh, okay.
They do not have Wisconsin has Illinois.
Yeah. So, yeah, I think Rutgers is going to go to a bowl game because they're going to beat Michigan State, and I think that they'll beat Indiana. But then I don't think that they win a game the rest of the season.
So you think they'll go 6-6?
I think so. Yeah, I think Iowa they can win, but it just depends on, because that's at Iowa, and it depends on how Iowa's defense is feeling that particular day. And then Maryland they can win. It just depends on how Talia Tagovailoa is feeling that day. So there's that.
Now what about Wisconsin?
So for Wisconsin, they're definitely going to go to a bowl game. They're probably going to beat Iowa. They're definitely going to beat Illinois. They're 6. They're going to beat Indiana. They're 7. Northwestern and Nebraska and Minnesota. So they're looking at like 9-2, 10-2, 9-3 at the worst, I think.
Yeah.
So
let's see. Iowa, Illinois, Indiana, Northwestern, Nebraska is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So 9. Yeah, 9-3 would be that.
Yeah.
9-3 or 10-2.
They would be like just on the outside looking in at an at-large bid for a New Year's 6 bowl game, which is what's probably going to end up happening is the Big Ten the Big Ten East runner-up is probably going to get the at-large bid, if not the CFP bid. So the Big Ten champion is going to go to the CFP. The Big Ten East runner-up is probably, depending on who they lose to, probably also going to go to the CFP or get that at-large bid to the New Year's 6. Wisconsin is like 4th in line for that New Year's 6 at-large bid if they go 10-2.
All right. Well, then let's look at. Oh, I'm sorry.
Well, I was just going to say, because otherwise you've got Michigan going to the CFP. Ohio State, probably their only loss is Michigan, which probably also puts them in the CFP. And then Penn State, I'm assuming, is going to lose to either Michigan or Ohio State, and that gives them the at-large New Year's 6. Or Penn State and Ohio State could switch. But either way, this is all assuming that Michigan wins the Big Ten.
Right. Our 3-team wins, moving on down the list here. Our 3-team wins are Minnesota, Northwestern, and Nebraska. Northwestern is another one where nobody expected them to go to a bowl game, and here they are with 3 wins, which is 3 times better than they did last year. Minnesota and Nebraska are expected to get a quote-unquote not playoff game. What do you think? Can those? Well, let's start with Northwestern. Can Northwestern win 3 more games?
Man, they can, but I don't know. I mean, Nebraska's not very good, but also neither are they. So that's kind of a toss-up. I think Nebraska probably wins that game. I think Maryland is probably going to win. I think Iowa and Wisconsin are also both Northwestern losses. So Purdue and Illinois, I think Purdue and Illinois they can win. Those are both toss-ups, but even if they do win both of those, then that's still only 5 games. So they would have to knock off either Nebraska or Maryland are their two best shots. Iowa, maybe, but yeah, it's basically a toss up. It depends on which Northwestern shows up. If Northwestern in the first half against Penn State shows up, then great. If Northwestern against Howard shows up, then no.
Yeah, I feel like Purdue's in kind of the same situation. You never know which Purdue's going to show up either.
Yeah.
That's what's made this season so strange. Okay, how about Minnesota? Minnesota sits at 3 wins. Do they have 3 more wins in them?
Man, yeah, okay, so Michigan State, Illinois, and Purdue. I think those are all wins, especially because Michigan State and Illinois are at home, so that really works out for them. And then Purdue is just not very good. I mean, they're very erratic. They're all over the place. So I think that if Minnesota can play some solid defense and get something of a run game going, which they actually had a run game going against Michigan there for a minute. And so if they can do that against these teams, then yeah, they'll get those 3 wins and they'll go at least 6-6. Iowa to me is a bit of a toss-up, just depends on how Kelly McManus is feeling. And then Ohio State and Wisconsin, I think, are both pretty solid losses. But I think if they can establish a run game against Michigan State, Illinois, and Purdue, they can win those games.
All right, now how about Nebraska? Now we know Matt Rule, when he gets to a team for the first year, it doesn't usually work out that well, but he does have 3 wins down. So you got 3 more in him.
Let's see. Okay, so Northwestern, Purdue, and Michigan State. Michigan State's on the road, so that's a toss-up to me. They do have Maryland at home, but that's also kind of a toss-up because, again, it just depends on how Maryland's offense is feeling. And then they've got Iowa at home. So if they can figure out some sort of offensive consistency, then I think that they've got a shot in most of these games. I don't think that they'll beat Wisconsin, but I think that I would feel comfortable saying that they'll knock off Northwestern, Purdue, and Michigan State and get to a bowl game. I just think that that's probably where that stops. I don't think that they win Maryland, Wisconsin, and Iowa.
Okay, yeah, those games do seem winnable for him at the very least.
Yeah.
Our 2-win teams. So we've got Indiana, Michigan State, Illinois, and Purdue. Indiana, again, is one where people did not expect. Nobody expected them to go to a bowl game. It's shocking to me. We've got Michigan State and Illinois are in this position. I would have expected them to do better than this. Purdue has a new coach. Illinois, I expected to win the West, so I expected them to do a lot better. Purdue has a new coach, so it is what it is there. Purdue, as we've already said, has been kind of all over the place. Indiana is up and down every year. Michigan State lost their coach, so they're in turmoil. I know if I remember correctly, you projected MSU might not win 6 games. And it looks like you might be right, but it was for a different reason. It wasn't for losing their coach. But at this point, with 6 games left on the schedule and only 2 wins down, can any of these teams get bowl eligibility? So let's start with Indiana.
Yeah. Okay. So Indiana, I don't think is going to be bowl eligible. So they've got Michigan and Rutgers and then Penn State. Those are 3 losses, just based on how Indiana's offense is playing right now. Then they've got Wisconsin. That's another loss. And that's it. That's, what is that? 2 and 4, 5, 6, 7. That's 2 and 7. So they are bowl ineligible at that point. The Illinois game is a 50-50. Michigan State game, I lean Michigan State. And then at Purdue, I would lean Purdue, but that's kind of a 50-50. So Indiana, I think, doesn't have a very good chance of going to a bowl game. I'll just kind of go through the list here. So Michigan State then.
All right.
Go away menu. Oh goodness, it just went away on me. Here it is. Okay. Michigan State. So I think this Rutgers game is a 50-50 toss-up. I think that it's probably going to be kind of a rough game. So if that's a 50-50, let's say best case scenario, that's a win. Then they're home against Michigan. That's a loss. At Minnesota, that's a 50-50 toss up, but I'd lean loss on that one. Then they're home against Nebraska. I actually think they could win that game. So right now we're at 4-6, I think 4-5. And then they've got Ohio State. Well, I got it. Ohio State, Indiana, and Penn State to end the season. Indiana, they have a shot against. They'll probably beat. Ohio State and Penn State, no way. So I think at that point we're looking at, is that 4-8? I want to say 4-8, 5-7 at best.
Yeah.
So yeah, no bowl game for Sparty, unfortunately. Illinois has Maryland, Wisconsin, Minnesota. Those are all losses. Then they've got Indiana, Iowa, and Northwestern. They can beat Indiana and Northwestern. I think that they will. They'll probably lose to Iowa. So you've got 2 and 3, 4. You got 4-8 is their final record. So no bowl game for Illinois. And then Purdue.
Poor Illinois. I really had them. I thought they could do it.
Sorry, buddy. Purdue's got an interesting schedule here. So they've got Ohio State this week. That's a loss. Nebraska, that's a toss-up. I really don't know. I can't remember what I said about Nebraska, if Nebraska was going to win this or not. But that's a toss-up. At Michigan, they're going to lose. Home against Minnesota, I think Minnesota is going to win. And then at Northwestern, I think Purdue will win that game. And then I think that they'll beat Indiana as well. So if that's 2-4, 2-5, 2-6, 2-7, 2-8, 3-8, 4-8. So yeah, I've got them going probably somewhere around 4-8, 5-7 at best. So no bowl game for Purdue.
Oof. So we could be looking at a lean Big Ten bowl season.
Yeah, at least for the West Division.
Yeah. Poor West Division.
I would say, thank God it's over next year, but we're bringing in like the 4 best teams in the Pac-12. So I don't know that helps anything. Right.
It's going to get tough.
Yeah.
Brutal, but no one's died in years. Someone will vanish occasionally.
Okay, so every week we have a coin toss to determine who gets the away team and who gets the home team. If you win the coin toss, you get to pick home or away, and that works out as a bonus on our overall score picks and record. It's all part of our score picking thing. It's part of the rivalry. It's competition, although it is basically just chance. But we like it, so we keep doing it. Mac? What?
It's not chance.
You got flipping a coin is not chance?
No. Flipping the coin is chance, but if you win, you want to know which teams you're going to pick. You know, that's the strategy.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
That's all right. Fine. That's a strategy.
It's the strategy.
All right. Are you going to call it? What do you got?
I'm going to call tails.
Tails? All right. And we're flipping the coin. Nope. I got to click over here. We're flipping the coin. Tails.
Hey, all right.
Now you called tails. All right. It's like, wait a minute. What did you call?
I didn't look at who's home and away this week though. Wait, I want oh shoot. I want home teams.
You want home teams?
I think so.
All right. Mac is taking the home teams.
I'm taking I'll take the home teams, yeah.
Okay. Now let's look at the upcoming games.
All right.
Welcome! We are here to destroy you!
So this is our rivalry part. We're going to look ahead to this weekend, and we challenge each other on our picks for all the Big Ten games. Now, for the ranked teams, we each get 1 minute per game to discuss and give our prediction, and then we have the speed round for the rest of the games. There's not a lot of games this week. Now that we're into the season, there's only 6 games going on this week. All 3 ranked Big Ten teams are playing. And we're going to start with Indiana at number 2, Michigan. Mac, are you ready?
I'm ready.
Okay, you get 1 minute. You're on the clock.
All right, it's pretty basic, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. Michigan is a very good team. Indiana is not. All right, that means Michigan's going to win this game. They're going to win it by a lot. I'm really not sure it even matters to go into the statistics, but what the heck, I will anyway. Indiana is currently allowing 156 yards rushing every single game on average. Michigan is rushing for 185 yards every single game as well. So that just goes in favor of Michigan for a run game. The thing is, though, is that Indiana is also allowing 211 yards through the air. And I don't know if anyone's watched J.J. McCarthy recently, but I think he just threw another touchdown pass to Roman Wilson. I don't know. I think that's a thing that just happened. In any case, Indiana's not ready for what Michigan's going to have for them. So I've got the Wolverines winning the game, but I can't remember by how much. 52-6, Michigan.
Oh, nice. 9 seconds left.
Boom.
Well done.
All right. Are you ready?
I am ready.
You are on the clock starting now.
So Indiana is a beleaguered team at this point, and we're only halfway through the season. Michigan dismantled Minnesota, and Indiana is not as good a team as Minnesota. The real concern here is if Michigan fails to take Indiana seriously, any team caught off guard can lose a game. Michigan will always remember that game against App State that they should have won. But Michigan absolutely must stay on their guard and treat this game like it's the most important game on their schedule. Actually, if you're playing for a championship, a national championship, then every game on your schedule is the most important game on your schedule. If Michigan can keep their focus, if Michigan can keep their focus, I've got this all written down. It's perfect. It's just I read it wrong. If Michigan can keep their focus, it's not a matter of if they win, but by how many points will they be in the first half, and by how many non-starters. I cannot read at all. How many non-starters will play in the second? I've got Michigan winning this one easily, 56-3.
You went 4 seconds over, so that means I get a 4-point bonus, right?
We never agreed to that.
That's crap. You did that to me like 3 weeks ago. Whatever. All right.
I know. I forgot to put it in there.
Oh, okay. All right. It's fine then. Whatever. We'll do that next time.
Right, fine. Rolling on, we've got number 3 Ohio State at Purdue. It's Ryan versus Ryan when Ohio State enters Ross-Ade Stadium this Saturday to take on the Purdue Boilermakers. Mac, you will be on the clock as soon as I reset this. Are you ready to go?
Oh, I'm so ready.
And you are on the clock. Go for it.
All right. Here's the thing, ladies and gentlemen, boys and girls. I'm going to say the exact same thing that I said with Michigan and the team that they're playing, Indiana. Ohio State is a relatively decent team. Purdue is a very, very bad team. All right, so maybe that was a little bit different, but let's be honest, Ohio State's not on Michigan's level right now, but in this case, it's really not going to matter. Although, I want to throw a little wrench in the plan here. Do we all remember what happened the last time the Buckeyes visited Ross-Ade Stadium? Or should I say Nutcracker Stadium? Yes, that's right. The last time Ohio State was at Purdue, the Boilermakers pulled off the upset against the number 3 Buckeyes. Urban Meyer was still the coach then, if you can believe it. This case, conventional wisdom says that the Buckeyes are going to win, which is actually what I believe, obviously. But yeah, I mean, Purdue, are they still the Nutcrackers? Are they still the top 5 beaters that they were under Jeff Brom and otherwise? Who knows? Can they do it? I don't think they will. Give me Ohio State 45-17.
Nice.
Thank
You went over by 5 seconds, but that was my fault because I stopped looking at the clock.
That's crap. That's your fault.
So that doesn't count. We won't take that off your score or add it to your score.
We also never agreed to that.
Well, then you got nothing to worry about. Stop complaining.
I'm not. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, you're on the clock starting now.
All right, I'm not going to say too much different than what Max said, but 5 years ago, the Boilermakers stunned the college football universe when they defeated the 7-0 Buckeyes 49-20. Ohio State's only loss that year was to Purdue and possibly cemented Purdue's reputation as the Spoilermakers. The question is, can Purdue do it again? You've got 2 new coaches, although Ryan Day of Ohio State has more experience. Ryan Walters of Purdue is in his first year at Purdue, and based on his record, still trying to settle into being a head coach. Ohio State is 5-0. Purdue is 2-4. Ohio State defeated number 9 Notre Dame. Purdue has not played any ranked teams. The line on this game is Ohio State by 19.5, and a spread like that usually means the opponent doesn't have a chance. Except that Ohio State has not looked solid until the fourth quarter, and Purdue is the Spoilermakers. If Purdue can put a lot of points on the board in the fourth quarter, before Ohio State rallies, not to be enough to overcome it. I did not read that right. If Purdue puts enough points on the board before Ohio State rallies, Ohio State may not be able to overcome it. But ultimately, I feel like I'm reaching for an excuse to say Purdue could win. I hate betting against Purdue because they're the Spoilermakers. They thrive under these odds. Nevertheless, even though I'm way over time, I've got the Buckeyes over Purdue 31-17. And I hate to say it.
Bruh. 30 seconds over. What's wrong with you?
Sorry about that. Are you ready? We're going on to UMass. That's Massachusetts at number 6, Penn State. Mac, are you ready for this one?
Are we doing on the clock for this?
Yep.
Oh, crap. Okay, I'm ready.
Ready?
I'm
And
ready.
go.
So, Penn State, they're a football team. They're a pretty good football team, aren't they? Yeah, so here's the thing. UMass doesn't stand a chance in this game. Penn State's going to win it. We all know this is just one of those facts of life. Fun fact for you, though. Don Brown is the head coach of the UMass Minutemen. Isn't that interesting? And so far, UMass doesn't have a good defense, or at least they can't stop really good teams, which as a Michigan fan, isn't that kind of funny? So Penn State's going to win this game. They're probably going to win it by a lot. So I do have Penn State. I'm just going to go ahead and give it. I'm calling Penn State 52-6.
Oh, nice. 18 seconds to spare.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, well, I didn't have anything to say. So.
Well, you said some of what I wanted to say. Why do you do this to me?
I'm sorry.
All right.
I'm
ready whenever you're ready.
Turn my phone back on. All right, ready?
Yep.
And go.
Why in the ever-loving wide world of sports did they schedule this game this late in the season? UMass is 1-6. The only team they beat was New Mexico State, and they did it with less running, less passing, fewer first downs, and almost 3 times the penalty yards. What I'm trying to say is New Mexico is awful, and UMass beat them with the practice squad. Now they've lost 6 games in a row. They lost to EMU, that's Eastern Michigan, and Toledo. You don't lose to EMU and Toledo and expect to walk into Happy Valley and play what we would call football. As I've said many times before, it's not the player's fault. It's the coach's fault. And this is where Mac already stole my thunder. You know who's coaching UMass? Don Brown, Jim Harbaugh's former defensive coordinator. Harbaugh fired him because year after year he got worse and worse. And then UMass said, hey, we'll take him. This game is going to be a slaughterfest. Penn State will probably start with the second stringers. In fact, I'd even dare to say this game will hurt Penn State in the AP poll because it's way too late in the season for it. I've got Penn State 59-3.
All right, so you know how you stopped looking at the clock?
Yeah.
That's what I just did. So you technically went 10 seconds over, but whatever.
You think football is still fun?
Yes.
Sir.
Yes.
Our rivalry continues with the speed round. We run through the rest of our picks with little to no explanation. There's always some explanation. One note, Minnesota, Nebraska, and Northwestern are on bye weeks. Mac, are you ready?
I'm ready.
All right, here we go. It's 2-3 Michigan State at 4-2 Rutgers. Since Spartan will seems to be waning, I've got Rutgers proclaiming Sparta who? Give me Rutgers over MSU 28-14.
I always thought that Knights were cooler than Spartans personally, and that's why I'm taking Rutgers in this game because it's definitely relevant to the situation here. Michigan State sucks. Rutgers is a little bit better than them this year. I've got Rutgers 34-21.
2-1 Illinois is at 5-1 Maryland. Maryland isn't done, but I think Illinois is. Give me Maryland taking the fight out of the Illini. That's a pun. 31-21.
I like that. That was good. Yeah.
Thank you.
Maryland is good enough to beat Illinois pretty handedly. So I've got Maryland winning 35-14. Man, I said that weird. I was going to make a point. It never materialized. In any case, Maryland's going to win.
Never. All right. It's the oldest matchup of the weekend. 5-1 Iowa at 4-1 Wisconsin. This is their 97th meeting. The series stands at 49-45 Wisconsin. I know I picked Illinois to win the West, but it looks like the West Division could be decided or utterly upended by this game. Give me Wisconsin 24-21.
Yeah, I don't think Iowa's offense is going to be much of a factor for any game the rest of the season. I think Wisconsin's probably the favorite in the West at this point, so they're probably going to want to play really hard this game. So I've got the Badgers 21-7.
Nice. Those are the picks, and that's the speed round, even if it wasn't as speedy as we wanted it to be. Do you agree? Do you disagree? Let us know in the comments. Tell us your picks and what you think of ours. That's all we ask.
Thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, go ahead and give us a subscribe. It would mean a lot to us. Maybe even a like, possibly even a comment. Let us know your thoughts and all that. It would be really great to hear from you all. And have a great weekend watching football and enjoy watching football. Remember, #make football fun again. This is Big Ten Team Rivalry.